David Mansfield. I was at school in the UK and from there went on to Cambridge University where I did a degree in history. From Cambridge I went on to do my teacher training programme in Oxford at Oxford University. Over the years of teaching I picked up a number of different qualifications, including a degree in theology, but also a master's in education and an MBA in educational leadership. In terms of my own teaching, I started in the independent sector in the UK and started in a London day school. It was a selective grammar school. In 2002, the the school where I was working in Chancellor was the Sunday Times School of the Year. I travelled to China. I felt it was time for a change. Became very impressed with what was happening, very challenged by the emergence of China onto the world stage. And I thought it would be a real opportunity to come and work in China. For me, it's a lovely job to be working with a school that has a fantastic culture, already got good values embedded deep into its foundations. Pao School, of course, was the forerunner of this new type of education that was beginning in the 2000s, which was offering an international education, a bilingual international education to Chinese students. What YK Pao School has created is a unique blend of what is really the magic bullet that everybody globally is looking for at the moment, which is the ability to not only speak good Mandarin and good English, but also to be able to mix in Chinese society effectively, but also in international business and educational society, and be effective in both those communities. We continue to push towards creating, I think, one of the most wonderful examples of what we're about, which is our students when they leave at year 12. They have a capacity to engage with just about any audience. Just recently we've had 3 really significant victories in competitions, academic competitions, the US decathlon. We've also got through to the final of the Wharton Business Competition at the University of Pennsylvania, beating 2,000 other schools here in China to get there. And also won a Tycoon Business Entrepreneur competition, which will take our students to Buckingham Palace to be presented with a prize by Prince Andrew. The key phrase that we've developed to summarise where the school is going is it's creating a school for tomorrow's China, an education for tomorrow's world. And by that we mean that what the students learn here in China, they can take with them to an international education overseas, higher education, ideally in some of the top universities, and then they can bring it back. For some of our internationals, it's the other way around. They come from overseas, experience China at Pao School for however many years it is, and then they go back overseas again, so it's overseas China overseas. And what we're creating here is a space where those 2 sets of journeys mix. We call it two-way immersion. Students who are English speaking are immersed in Chinese, and Chinese who are obviously looking at their own culture and are becoming more adaptive understanding it, are immersed in international experiences. Andrew Yao, one of our governors at the graduation ceremony, gave a really important little speech where he spoke about the fact that as China grows and becomes more and more successful, as the Belt and Road Initiative expands further, more and more countries of the globe will need to understand China. And it will be the job of students coming from schools like Pao School who will interpret China to the world and the world back to China. My job as the Executive Headmaster is not just to bring together the 3 campuses, now that we've opened up our Hongqiao campus in the last year or so, to align that with the Songjiang High School down the road and the Wuding campus here at primary, but also to create the vision and the strategy for taking the school into the future. We want to make sure that Pao School isn't just resting on its laurels, but is beginning to build to the next stage of its journey. And that means spreading its wings, becoming stronger and more effective in all that it does. And it means a lot of very interesting new projects, working with the founders, with the governors, and in taking the Pao project into the next phase. We have a development plan which is structured currently in 5-year blocks. We're in our 3rd 5-year plan. The next target in the 4th 5-year plan from 2022 is to really become a world-leading school and to ensure that what we're doing here has a footprint that goes globally. And we're hoping that by the 25th anniversary of the school in 2032, we'll be able to celebrate Pao School, which has an international reputation and is year on year creating young people who are going to change the world in which they enter. One of the great challenges of bilingual education is not just having Chinese teachers and international teachers, but actually having people who come from a wide variety of different pedagogical backgrounds. And so to try and bring them together and get a common language which you can use across the school is really important. We've embedded that into a set of teaching standards which we apply through our performance management and our training programs. And we, on the back of that, established our professional learning centre, structured to provide in-house training in teaching and learning to ensure that every teacher that needed it or wanted it was able to get coaching and mentoring. Probably Kevin down at Songjiang, he came in, very unassuming young man, to a governors meeting once, and he was carrying a big bag with him. And he pulled out a semi-spherical drum, which looked a bit weird to me, and he began to produce the most extraordinary rhythmic music on it that just completely wowed all of the governors. And you realise in this very unassuming young fellow, just an amazing level of talent. And I think the experience of just seeing young people using their talents in an unassuming, humble way is probably the most moving thing that I've experienced in my life as a teacher. I've seen that many, many times. And it comes from the founders down, an unassuming commitment to doing things well. And it ripples through teachers and teaching through to the students, and regularly get touched by them. My main work is working with principals, but also working with governors and working with the founders. And I regularly bump into conversations with any one of those and think how lucky I am to be working in a school like this, where you have people who are not trying to force their own agendas. They're genuinely trying to engage with others in a collaborative process, are prepared to listen, even though they don't have to, but they do, because they want to make the school a better place. And I think that's the story of Pao's success. It's had very high aspirations, but it does it in a very decent way.